don't count on me for anything because I have a blank screen again.
Well, you're blank to us too, but I can hear you. But did you hear that, everybody else?
Yes.
Okay. Hint, hint. Thank you. All right, we're ready to go. I'm going to call to order the Wednesday, October 13th, 7 p.m. City Council regular meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
to
flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under
under
God,
God.
indivisibly, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. All right. Before I do roll call, I would like to remind everybody that if you're not speaking or part of the regular meeting, please mute yourself and also turn off your video to keep the feed as small as possible. Thank you. I will now do roll call. Council President Conley.
Here.
All right. Councilor Blum,
Here,
Can you turn this off?
Councilor Letts,
Here.
Councilor Ross. Did I get you? I didn't, did I?
Here.
And I'm Mayor Preedon. I am also here. First item on the agenda after roll call is approval of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move to
would-
approve the, go ahead.
I would move to approve the agenda.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you, guys. We have a motion and a second. A roll call vote. Council President Conley? Councilor Blum?
Aye.
Councilor Ross?
Aye.
Councilor Letts?
Aye.
Mayor Preedon is aye. I'll try Council President Conley again. I think she's gone.
No, she's
Aye.
there.
All right, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is visitor communication. I believe we have 2 or 3 people. Carrie?
Correct. The first person is Deborah Carey. If you'd like to unmute yourself and start your video, please.
Hi, here I am.
Hi, Deborah. This is Mayor Preedon.
Okay.
You can have up to 3 minutes if you like.
Okay, here I go. Hello, I am Deborah Carey and I live and manage the adult foster care home located at 182 East Telford Court, which is next door to and shares a patio with the proposed homeless shelter at 192 East Telford Court. First, I would like to express that numerous members of the community have voiced concerns over this property's use as a homeless shelter, including area business owners, property managers, property owners, and citizens of Sisters. Before I begin, I have a couple questions. Has a detailed written proposal been received by the City Council from the Sisters Cold Weather Shelter? Anyone?
Unfortunately, this is not a back and forth, so.
Okay, then
that's-
my
no,
other, no.
that's
it's
okay. We'll consider it a question that we can answer to you at a later date. How
You
about
can ponder.
that? Thank you.
My second pondering question is, have they made a formal legal offer and placed funds in escrow to purchase the property? According to the city's own data, there are approximately 200 homeless in the Sisters area, which I watched the meeting earlier and I feel there's an update from that. Half of which are living in their cars. The homeless shelter has reported plans to open the property to receive homeless guests at 5 p.m. every day, and the occupants would have to leave every morning. Where do you think these individuals will congregate and hang out all day while they are unable to stay in this unit? Where will their belongings be stored? How many homeless individuals will congregate within the neighborhood during the day, hoping to be first in line to get a spot in the shelter when it opens at 5? And where will the 50% who own cars park them while they're eating, showering, and spending the night or waiting for the shelter to open? This neighborhood has no parking, no yard areas for people to congregate, and it's in the middle of town in a combination business and quiet residential neighborhood. The development is master planned. It's mixed-use, multi-generational development. It is designed with elaborate landscaping and beautiful walkways and is intended to be a neighborhood where people of all age groups and commercial enterprises share a common area for benefit of all of us. The developers envision a commercial core of professional offices, restaurants, and retail with custom-designed space indoors and beautiful outdoor courtyards. There are 4 lots remaining for sale in the master plan of this development. Architectural and engineering already complete based on the original plan to develop this block. If there's a homeless shelter next door, do you think those 4 lots will sell? When I show prospective residents my adult foster care home, do you think they are going to want to move in and live there if a homeless shelter was next door? If it was your family member, what would your decision be? And if no one wants to live there, this business cannot exist. And I'm not talking about profitable as existing. I'm speaking of closing the doors and failure, which, by the way, would put 5 seniors out of a home, myself out of a home, and my staff out of work. Staff that has worked endlessly through COVID to service those who have done so much for their communities and country in the past and deserve our care and consideration. Additionally, let's not forget the daycare within half a block of the proposed homeless shelter. I would like to reiterate, this location does not solve the problem. There's no public transportation. There is no yard or parking. There is no grocery within walking distance. And I'll tell you, they'll pay more for groceries in Sisters. Sisters is a small community with limited job opportunities. Also, limited healthcare resources are available. And I think the pharmacy is closing at Bi-Mart soon. There are other locations in Central Oregon that would much better serve the homeless population. These citizens need essential services readily accessible and a plan and a path to help them transition to success. Unfortunately, the property at 192 East Telfer Court is not that place. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you for your comments. We do appreciate your involvement and thank you. Carrie?
The next visitor is Lori Owen.
Hi, I'm Lori, and Deborah Carey is my resident care manager. I am an RN and I am the tenant at 182 Northeast Telfer. So I have a lot of questions. I'm not going to be expecting any answers, but I just want to throw them out there. I've always rolled my eyes at the people that say, you know, oh, we need a homeless shelter because this is all of our problems and this is something that needs solved. That roll their eyes, not in my backyard. Well, here I am with not in my backyard, but sharing my yard, which there's not very much of. And I do have concerns. This is a vulnerable population next to this home that I am responsible for. I have people that are blind, that are in wheelchairs, that need medical services. I have nurses in and out. I have ambulances showing up in the middle of the night. I have funeral homes showing up in the middle of the night. I am concerned because after contacting a friend of mine who runs the homeless shelter in the warming shelter in Madras, one of the populations that I had not even considered being an issue is, she said the biggest behavioral problem they have is people with PTSD and a lot of violence that comes with that. So she's actually had a lot of her people that wanted to bring their children in and wanted to bring young people in to volunteer. She's really kind of asked them not to because they do have issues that come in. I've got nurses in and out. Is there narcotics in the home? Yeah, yes, there is. And who is securing those narcotics? One woman, especially at night. I mean, we have an alarm system, but that's not going to stop anybody that wants to seek they self-medicate often, and we know there's a lot of mental health. I actually got on online today to just look up, oh, is there any, news articles on sisters and their homeless shelter? And it was not a good thing. And my screen just went off. Because the article I came across was between March and April, I think, in 2019. And it was discussing a couple of incidences, one of which being a gentleman that was using the homeless shelter that was next to a school that was a registered offender. There was another gentleman that had a mental health issue that was in the middle of the street, covered in blood, saying, "I just want to die." And I'm like, oh, this is Sisters Oregon, isn't it? And I did confirm I was on the right page. And that's the things I'm concerned about. If we have people next door with PTSD, my ambulance in the middle of the night is not going to do well for them. I've had to take care of plenty of people with PTSD. Like I said, that wasn't even my consideration. That was something that Pat Abernathy had brought up, is that was her biggest thing that she has to deal with. That's the violence that comes with the PTSD. The staff at the shelter in Madras, they are on hand if people are loitering after they've been released in the morning. The police call, a church van is picked up, and the staff picks the people up and relocates them. So they're not loitering around the businesses. And so in this case, it would be my business and neighbors. So is there anything in place? Is there any safeties in place? Is this going to be staffed, or are these people going to be checking in and on their own all night? I personally know people who have been homeless with families that have chosen to live in their cars because they would not go to the homeless shelters because they weren't safe. They weren't safe for their children. There wasn't adequate staffing. And this is in Bend. So I have a lot of concerns. I'm checking my list here, make sure actually in the article also mentioned that the vision for the shelter was for children and families. But the day the article was written, there was 8 individuals in the shelter, and they were all adult, single men. So I think so again, we don't have any parking. There's really not a yard. There's a couple of fields. There's a daycare across the street. We literally are connected to the property with 5 vulnerable individuals. And I'm not saying that everybody who goes into a homeless shelter has issues, but as we all know, many do. And I'm just not sure that this is the right place. And I do have some concerns. And I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for wrapping that up. We appreciate it. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thanks. Carrie?
That's all the visitors communication that I have tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you again for our communications. We really like it when the public gives us some input. We're always looking for that. So thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Need a motion?
Counselor Conley moves to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
I think Counselor Blum won that race for the second. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote. Council President Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Blum,
Aye.
Counselor Ross,
Yep.
Counselor Letts,
Aye.
and Mayor Preden is aye as well. So the consent agenda has been passed. Now on to council business. The first item on the agenda is our ordinance. Who is up for us on that one? Scott? Excuse me, resolution 2021-18.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to adopt the Sisters Addendum to the Deschutes County Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. As you heard earlier, this is a plan that's required if communities want to take advantage of federal funds for disaster mitigation. The county is adopting the kind of the umbrella plan And then each municipality within Deschutes County is adopting their own addendum that takes a closer look at the natural hazards that are more particular to that particular municipality. And so we had a sister steering committee that looked at what those potential hazards were, kind of looked at the full range of hazards and ranked them in terms of their likelihood and damage that they would do to the community. So those being wildfire, winter storm, and windstorm being the highest, and going on down the list. It also comes with a recommended action plan for mitigating those hazards, things that we can do as a community, things that we can partner with the county on as part of their normal process with their emergency services department, that we can sort of tag team with them on it. And then there's ones that we just have got going with other plans that we have in motion, such as the comprehensive plan, the TSP, the water and wastewater master plan, the community wildfire protection plan, things of that nature. A lot of those action plans sort of dovetail with those existing plans that we have. It's intended to be updated every 5 years. It's kind of a living plan, so we can kind of make changes as we go, as things come up. But it is a requirement that we adopt it as a municipality to continue getting those federal funds. For example, the FEMA grant that we got to bury the Locust Street sewer line was one of those, as an example of those types of grants that we could continue to take advantage of. Are there any questions that I can answer?
All right. I guess I'm going to go around the room and just check with everybody, see if they have any questions. Council President Conley?
No
Or comments?
questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Blum,
No questions.
Councilor Ross,
No questions.
Councilor Letts.
But just an FYI for the rest of the council, I had communicated with Scott yesterday because there was one section in there that had some archaic data in there about seismically stable buildings in the community, which was dated from 2007. And we know that a lot of those buildings some of those buildings have been replaced by buildings that have been up to standard, built to standard code. And I just double checked with him, and that was just the latest data set that was available that they could plug in there, unfortunately. So if anybody happened to scratch their head at that, because we have a new fire district building that is seismically safe.
Right.
Not a concern that it looked like in there. So I just wanted to clear that up for everybody.
I actually was looking at that today myself. And the other thing we should note is the ones that haven't been replaced are that much older. So
Yeah.
it kind of does cut both ways. But if that's the data set we have, then that's, totally understandable. Thank you. I don't have any questions for you either, Scott, other than this is a really good document. I loved reading about it. I liked reading about the different disasters we could have. I don't want them to actually happen, but it's good to talk about them. So, but it's really interesting to see, where we're at. And I think it's a long way probably from where we've come in the last 20 years. And certainly in the last, anything before that, probably there was no plan whatsoever. So it was run for your life, basically. And that was all we had. So thank you for your work on this. Unless there's no further discussion, we're probably looking for a motion.
I would move approval of resolution 2021-18, a resolution adopting the City of Sisters addendum to the Deschutes County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will do a roll call vote. Council President Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Blum,
Aye.
Counselor Ross,
Safely saying yes.
Counselor Letts.
Aye.
I am Mayor Preed, and I say aye as well. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. All right. Second item on the agenda, council business, is a discussion and consideration of motion for design and construction services agreement for Sunlight Solar Energy for the wastewater treatment plant solar project. And I believe that's Paul.
Thank you. So this is going to be a really cool project for the city, kind of our first renewable energy project, something that we've actually been planning since we built our headquarters building in 2010. We actually engineered the roof structure to support the PV panels for a 50 kilowatt system. So we went out to request for proposals and received 3 really qualified proposals, one from Sunlight Solar out of Bend, and then a couple from the Valley. So going through those with Counselor Letts and Corey, it was unanimous that Sunlight Solar had the best proposal and would be the best firm to provide not only the construction, but the design services as well. So this is a contract to enter into with them. And it includes, like I said, the design and construction of a 400 or 50 kilowatt PV system that includes inverters that will provide power to our lab building as well as to our headquarters building. And they actually have an option in their monitoring system for public display if we wanted to. So we could put it online and the public could go in there and see how much energy we're creating and offsetting through our treatment plant operations, which is pretty cool. So the new information that we got since we went through the RFP process is there are some grant funds through the Community Renewable Energy Program through the Oregon Department of Energy. And it's quite a bit of money. I want to say the first year is about $20 million, and the grant funds are going to be available to be applied for in the first quarter of 2022. And they are for renewable energy projects, both planning and construction. But there is a higher or less match required for a resiliency project, which is attractive to us to actually put in a battery system up there and power some of our, just more or less our absolutely necessary components for our operations, you know, lighting, heating, our treatment plant screening process. So we don't want to power everything because the battery project would be, you know, pretty unrealistic at that point. But we're going to be looking at that with Sunlight Solar, getting some consulting work from them on what we're going to need for battery backup to apply for this grant. So looking forward to that. And I think that's it. If there's any questions, more than happy to help.
All right, I'll start off, Paul. The that resiliency portion of the contract, does that fit into this contract price, or is that going to be something added on to later?
No, that would be an add-on.
Okay.
So in that grant program, I'm sure it's going to take a year to work through before funding becomes available. So this is going to be a grid connected project
Okay.
right off the bat.
Okay. And second of all, I guess my follow-up question might be, what's the time frame of this project? Just start to finish-ish?
So we're looking at getting a PO over to Sunlight immediately. And they thought that it would be spring before they saw the equipment show up. So we're looking spring.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll go around the room. Council President Conley.
No questions, thanks.
Okay, Councilor Blum.
Paul, just on a high level, if there is a serious storm and power is taken out of Sisters, how long would we be able to provide essential services based on solar panels and backup generators and things like that?
So our essential services in the water and wastewater collection and distribution systems are already in place. We have backup generators there. Our engineer that built the treatment plant did not design a backup generation unit up there. Basically, everything can flow into the plant and operate for a short time without power. But then you run into the inconvenience of lighting and charging batteries and those types of things that's what we're going to be looking at as the critical infrastructure to do our jobs.
And so this resiliency part would really help with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
All right. Counselor Ross?
Yeah, when I toured with Paul, he pointed out what the thought process was, and I believe you mentioned that you had conduit running from the roof down into an area where batteries could be put in the building, if I find my memory is correct. I really think on-site electrical storage is important. Sometimes it's just a matter of a blip in the grid and it kicks right over real quick and then kicks back. Your emergency generators might not even come on because it kicks over that fast. And then the other benefit you can have, depending on how the system is set up, is that you can actually, in periods of time where you're not concerned about power outages, you can use the energy stored in the batteries to run the facility part of the night. And you can even say how far down you want them to drain. And that continues to advance your savings, especially in the summer when you're going to generate more electricity than you might use. So I applaud. I'm glad you're going after the grant. It'll be interesting to see how it all gets done. And good work.
All right, great comments there. Counselor Letts?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about the grant as well. Love this project, obviously. And just to clarify, I remember reading that it was budgeted for $150,000. And this is coming in, at least at the moment, about 120. Was that extra 30 to cover our costs because I know we're going to do some of the work on our side, like the trenching, or was that just kind of the general number we set aside?
No, that'll help with some of the work that we got to do in-house, which we're going to be running the conduits between the two buildings. But that was actually the budget number that we got from one of the solar providers when we were scoping the project. So it came in below the cost estimate that we were given.
All right, great, thanks.
I hope that
Well-
means that solar power is starting to go down in cost. That would be great.
I do too.
Okay. All right. If the discussion is over, we'll need a motion, please.
I move, I got to find my notes here. Here we go. I move to award a design and construction services agreement to Sunlight Solar Energy Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $118,695 for the wastewater treatment plant solar project, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement subject to legal revisions and to execute any contract change orders within a contract contingency amount of 5% of the contract.
I'll
We have a
second
second.
that.
Thank you, Counselor Blum and Counselor Ross. We have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Council President Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Blum,
Aye.
Counselor Ross,
Electrifyingly aye.
Counselor Letts.
Aye.
Hard act to follow, right? Mayor Preden says aye, unanimously voted. Thank you very much. Good job, Paul.
Thank you.
Get her done. Thanks a lot. All right. Next item on the agenda. Let's see. I have to find my agenda. Thank you, Gary. Oh, we're at other business. Okay, so The first item on other business is follow-up conversation on the Early Child Care Business Start Accelerator Program. I think we do have Ken Betschart on the line if we need to ask him questions. But honestly, I think most of us, we just need to narrow down what we're going to do, everybody. As a reminder, on the 17th of September, Ken Betschart did send us an email talking about the grant proposal and putting some numbers to it. And he thought it would a number of 6,000, which would cover program expenses not specific to Sisters, which contributes to the wider Central Oregon community need for this pilot program of the accelerator program. And then he thought it might be a good idea to do startup seed grants for Sisters residents who complete the program at about 5,000 per student. But we can honestly do whatever we want. We can decide to, just do, one program expense and wait to see about Sisters residents at a later time. I can give you a little bit of information that I think the program started yesterday. They had 15 slots open that were the advertising for those slots in the cohort started about 3 weeks ago. They ended up filling 11 of them or possibly 12. And so the program is, while it wasn't quite full this time, it was almost full. There was a lot of interest according to Neighbor Impact. And in fact, there's so much interest that they're talking about having a Hispanic or Latin centric cohort. So it would be a 4th class. That it sounds like there was enough people interested in doing that. So there's a lot of interest in this program. I know everybody on council has interest in it, and we really just need to discuss, A, we're going to do this, right? And then B, what everybody's level of funding would be, so we can kind of coalesce the idea together. So I'll start with myself. The seed grant for students and sisters, I think it's a good idea, but it does add a level of complexity to it. In the sense that we know that this is going to help people and sisters, even if they don't live here, because maybe it frees up a childcare slot somewhere else so they can come work in Sisters. And so it does help the region. So I'm kind of the mind to, I know he asked for 6,000. I'd like to vigorously support this program for more than that, maybe 10,000. But I would also consider if you guys had ideas about the seed money or grant money or other amounts. So I'll go to Council President Conley and see what your ideas are.
My ideas reflect the ask of the $6,000 to support the grant for all of Deschutes County child care providers. I think that's fair for a city of our size to participate at that level. I do have concerns about the seed grant after the fact. If someone in Sisters does open a daycare, I'm willing to entertain a thought about it, but not at this point.
All right, thank you for your input. Councilor Letts.
I'm on the spot. I'm still thinking. No, I'm happy to support the program, and I think I like both of your arguments. At the minimum 6,000, and I think this first go around, this first year, we'll kind of see what happens and see if there are participants from Sisters. and then maybe if there is a greater need, we can step up maybe in the future when it's kind of proven. So yeah, I'm amenable between that 6 and 10 number. But yeah, having any kind of sort of specific sister-centric criteria is a little overbearing at the moment. Maybe in the future would be more appropriate.
Okay, Counselor Blum.
Yeah, I'm in support of this program for sure. And I think we should help the program get off and running and be available to people in Central Oregon. And I think we all benefit regardless of where the spaces open up. There's a trickle down, I'm sure, that will happen. I wanted to ask, are we able to use ARPA funds for this, Corey?
I was just thinking through that as well. I think the short answer is yes, but given the amount, I think it might just be simpler and cleaner to use unrestricted general funds, given some of the reporting requirements that come along with ARPA. So yes,
Okay.
but we have other funds that we could leverage towards this as well.
Okay. I was kind of looking at, once the program was up and running and had somewhat proven itself, that it would be nice to have a program that we were funding here, people that we were funding here, that we would let it be known that this program was available, and if people wanted to apply for it, that they could come to the city and that we would sponsor them after the initial 6,000 or 10,000 that we would give. But I don't know whether we really want to put ourselves in the middle of it. I just felt like that would be a way to maybe get more interest in the community, because it would get more publicity if it was something that the city council was helping to sponsor. So that was just a thought.
And a good thought. Thank you. Counselor Ross.
That's interesting, Andrew, because I was kind of thinking the same thing in the back of my mind, thinking that the 6,000 now is very appropriate, and I think we definitely need to do it. But I also was thinking, well, maybe that 4,000 that between that number and what Mayor Preden mentioned, or some other number, would be something we might be able to have in the background to assist a Sisters resident who wants to do this, whether that's with transportation, whether it's with expenses, or whether it's to buy a tuition spot or whatever. I really don't know, because it wasn't a part of that initial conversation as deeply as I could have been if I wasn't here. So I think I like the idea. I like the 6,000, but I'm not closing the door to the concept that we may put some more funds towards this as we get a better sense of what it's doing, and who, if any, or whom, if any, of our residents may want to take advantage of it, and what the barriers are to them in order to do it. And if we can eliminate some of those barriers that involve money, maybe we should look that way. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement. Let's go ahead and get a grant going for the 6,000, and we should all just realize that we can. There's definitely thoughts of supporting other things down the road, especially if it's stuff coming from Sisters. And I think that just that word alone will get out, but we can also probably do some targeted marketing, so to speak, with Neighbor Impact, who's doing a lot of the recruitment, and just make sure that they know that we're really supportive of the program. And obviously Ken's on board here today listening, so he knows we're on board with the program. And so I think that moving forward, there's always that opportunity to help people in a different way down the road. So I think we have a head nod. Does that sound right? Okay. I think we can move on. Thank you, Ken, for being here.
Only part I'd add, Mr. Mayor, is can you perhaps put together a letter and send that over to us via email's fine, that just outlines, the high level points that we've already covered: program, purpose, intent, and then, you know, the $6,000 that was discussed, and then we'll get that process going in our accounts payable and over either later this month or early next.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it. Thank you for everyone for your support.
Thanks, Ken. Good job. All right. Next item on the agenda is staff comments. Corey, I usually leave you for last. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. And I see that our public commenters from earlier didn't stick around. I understand why it's getting a little late, but I will do my best to reach out to them tomorrow and inform them as to where we are as it relates to the request by the cold weather shelter to purchase the Tolfer building, which is that, you know, we declined to offer a letter of support when that was initially requested a month or so ago. And based on the workshop that we just had with the county commission and the letter we'll be putting together later this week and into early next, we're going to be requesting funds for other things to support houselessness in Sisters Country, as well as affordable housing and workforce housing, which is part of that sort of 360 approach to this issue that is definitely impacting our community. So I will reach out to them and let them know where we stand on that tomorrow. I think Carrie has our contact information, so we can do that. Otherwise, just sticking busy with the normal stuff. I'll be speaking briefly on Friday and Monday for about an hour with the American Leadership Forum cohorts this year. I'm going to get the numbers wrong. I want to say it's classes like 39 and 40, but nonprofit, private sector, public sector leaders from across the state, elected officials, nonprofit executive directors, so on and so forth are coming to Sisters, which is cool. They spend a year traveling the state, and I coordinated as an alumnus from class 36, coordinated with their staff to get them to come to Sisters. So they're staying in hotels and hanging out for a couple days. They're very COVID conscious and going to be very, very safe, which is good. And it should be, great opportunity to showcase Sisters, but also to actually speak to an issue in real time on houselessness and how we're trying to work through that issue and what it looks like in Sisters versus maybe where a lot of them are from, which are bigger metropolitan areas in the state. So informative two-way street, which is really good. So just want to mention that, and otherwise happy to address any questions or comments you might have.
So I'll start off. How many people are going to be in town? How many people is that?
Yeah, so each cohort is about 20 people.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they're coming over, I think, staying Thursday night, and then it's all day Friday, and that's going to be at the community hall, the fire district building. And then the other cohort's coming over Sunday night, and it's kind of all day Monday. And I think they're doing that one in some of the Best Western Conference space. And again, I'll be there Friday morning, and then Monday morning as well, just for about an hour each time.
Well, awesome. Way to bring people in. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah, it's a win-win.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Corey? I'll just let you jump right in. All right. Sounds good. Let's go to Carrie.
Hello. A couple of things going on. We have another special meeting on Monday at 3:00 for the Destination Management Initiative. That should be a lot of information coming your way. And you should have received the Zoom link for that earlier this week. We are doing a State of the City via the newspaper again this year, just because of the COVID situation. So I'm working on that right now, and I may be reaching out. The mayor is going to write a letter, but I'm working on some different things around the council goals. We're looking at right now as a November 10th date in the Nugget for that. And then we are also getting ready to push out the public safety survey. We should be finalizing that at the end of this week. That will probably be in the hands of all of our utility customers by around the 22nd or so, and looking to get those all back by late November and get the results back to you folks sometime in early January. That's all I have.
All right. And that meeting on Monday, is that everybody?
That's a
Not
lot
on
of
my
people on Monday. A special meeting?
Yeah, it's not on my calendar though. Is it, should it be?
Yes, it should be. It's a council
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, geez. There you go. So apparently I don't have my personal calendar and my city calendar meshing well enough. Thanks for the reminder. I'll fix that. Does anybody have any questions for Carrie?
Are there going to be any materials before that meeting?
There will not be. That's going to be, yeah. And that will also include the results from the survey that was done in the summer. So
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Carrie.
Yep.
Paul, you still with us?
I'm here. So just a couple things real quick. Got some good news on our Locust Roundabout project. Actually, it's a separate project, our funding of the roundabout project. We got a notice from ODOT that we made the 125% list on our enhance funding request, which comes to the STIP program, the statewide transportation improvement program. I think I got that right, Andrea.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made the 125% list. They're going to do some additional scoping of the project, and we'll assist ODOT staff, Region 4 staff, with anything they need on that end. They're going to be leading the effort of that. So fingers crossed on that. And the RAISE grant that we put in for back in July, we have not heard on that. We expect to hear something mid-November-ish, but that is coming from the feds. So, you know, we'll keep you guys up to speed on what we hear back on that funding request. Speed humps are now a thing in Sisters. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. 3 went in down on Timber Pine in the private section of Timber Pine by the HOA, and they went in today. We put in 2 out on Creekside Drive, north and south of the bridge, and that straight stretch in there where we saw really high speeds when we did our traffic safety audit data testing down there. So they went in there. We got our reflective chevron striping installed today. We got some portable bump signs that we put out there so everybody's gonna know when they drive through. These are 3 to 4 inch humps, about 8 feet long. I would say they are 10 mile per hour humps, not 15 mile per hour. At least stuff in the back of my truck didn't want to go 15 miles an hour over them. So they should be very effective. But again, just want to give you guys a heads up in case anyone questions you on why we did it and where we did it. So the last thing is our Locust Street sewer line is gone. It's off the bridge, never to be seen again. And we're flowing and really happy about that. So appreciate you guys, you know, allocating the money for that project and the staff resources to get that done. Couldn't have done it without you guys, but it's big for our little town for sure, especially when we're talking natural hazards and mitigating those. And when they pulled that pipe off the bridge, if you didn't see the underneath of it, I got some pictures. It was beat beyond belief. I mean, there was ductile iron dents in it, which I never thought you could dent ductile iron. So we didn't get that thing off the bridge soon enough. But anyway, that's all I got.
Good job.
Questions, be happy to help.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. I've had some contact with a couple people who live in Timber Creek, and they're happy those things are in there. So
good.
I don't know how it's going to work with snow plows, but you know, that's just part of it. So
yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Paul?
I do, sorry.
Go ahead.
Paul, when you were talking about the 125% stiff from ODOT, does that mean that the project will be expedited and it'll be breaking ground now, or does it just mean we're queued up and we're still on the same timeline that we've been talking about?
This is actually kind of our backup funding plan. if we don't get the RAISE grant. Because the RAISE grant, our project schedule was about a year sooner than the 24 to 27 STIP program that we're talking about, where the enhanced funds would come from. So instead of a 2023 late 2023 construction start, it would be 2024 if we got the enhanced and not the RAISE.
All right. Gary?
Yeah, speaking of the sewer project, I wandered by most days and took a look at it. And you're right, Paul, it was, I think the temporary plumbing you had along the bridge was in better shape than what you took out. I also wanted to compliment the work that Robinson and Owen did. I think that they were very careful about disrupting the neighborhood. They really weren't that noticeable. The work looks good, and it was cleaned up every night. And so not every contractor does that. And I think it speaks highly of their relationship with the city, and also the fact that they do good work. And so I couldn't be happy with what I saw there. So, and the next thing is we just need to get a couple of speed humps on Locust, and I'll be a happy man.
Right in front of your house.
It's okay with me.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have anything for Paul? All right. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate all
Great,
the hard
thanks a
work
lot.
you do. All right, Scott.
I think that I pretty much gave the updates that I was going to give earlier in the meeting, so I won't go into those again. Obviously, the big news in our department this week is you've probably no doubt heard that Nicole's given her resignation. So it's going to be hard to replace her. She's done a lot in her short time here, made a big impact, and we'll wish her luck in her new endeavors working for the state. So we'll be taking a look at getting a recruitment going for her position out here shortly, so that we can get somebody on board as soon as we can.
All right. Thank you. That's sad to hear, but that's the reality of life. And she has done a lot of work, and a lot of good work, and we have to thank her for that for sure. Does anybody have any questions for Scott?
I have a follow-up one about the Woodlands project from one of our previous meetings tonight. It's all a blur. The number of lots you had mentioned, or, the different cottages and apartments, townhouses, are those going to be available for individual sale? Do they already have like a developer that's going to be building all of those, or, a handful of developers? Do you know anything about that level?
To answer the first part of your question, is they will be for sale units, at least the cottage units and the townhome units. To the extent that the apartments are for sale, I haven't heard that yet. I think those might be rentals, and I'm going to have to get a little more educated about it now that Nicole's leaving, because she's the planner on the project. But to answer your second question, haven't heard who the builders are going to be yet. I don't haven't heard anything to that effect. So I can look into it, and if I hear something, I'll let you guys know. I don't know that. Don't know that information yet. I don't know if they divulged that yet or have determined it themselves.
Okay, so the lots won't be for sale individually, bare ground. They're going to be doing the building, and
They
I
could
see
sell
what
the
you're saying.
land. We really
Yeah.
don't know what they're
Okay.
going to do and when they're going to do it. If they're going to build one phase and sell the rest, build all the phases or not this year or 2 years from now. I mean, that's those, once we approve it, it really shifts into market forces for the most part.
yeah, okay. I was just
And
wondering if anybody
There is
heard
a-
anything.
There is a phasing plan associated with it. There's, I think there's 3 or 4 phases that they're planning to do it in, that will break it up into smaller pieces. But as Corey said, we don't know who's building what yet, and what order.
Okay, thanks.
And then Nicole's last day, it's not like she's, left already. Her last day is the 29th. Is that right, Scott?
28th, I believe.
Oh, the Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Thursday, the 28th.
And you guys will be advertising her position pretty quickly, is that right?
We're already circulating documents internally, should be open. We're aiming for next Wednesday.
Okay. Thanks for the
I have-
update.
I have a comment or question for Scott and Corey, probably both. My understanding of the Woodlands project was that it was aimed at, as much as I don't like the word workforce housing, that was what I heard at least initially. Is this going to be housing that's going to be in the price point that some of the folks who can't afford to live in this community might have an opportunity, or is it all going to be in the $500,000, $400,000 and up range? Do you know?
So I know they've advertised it, or their intention has always been to provide it as workforce housing, which is, I don't know if they're using the same definition, but the generally held definition is 80 to 120% of the area median income. I've also heard concerns about the rise in construction costs and materials that are affecting their ability to bring it in as low as they were hoping to. So there's always that factor that they have to factor in. I do know that they are working with some local affordable housing providers to provide some units that would facilitate them being brought in at affordable, like less than 80% AMI levels. I think on the order of 10% of the units, I want to say, like I said, I'll have to get kind of a bone up on this because I'll be the one making the presentation, but there seems to be an effort on their part to provide workforce housing and dedicated affordable housing. So such as the stuff that Habitat for Humanity provides to the community.
Is there a requirement on the part of the Planning Commission and the city's process to approve this development to ensure that indeed there are lots set aside for that purpose?
We currently do not have a requirement that they provide a certain percentage of units. It's not in our development code.
Yeah,
We've
that's
encouraged
happened.
them. We've encouraged them all along to provide them voluntarily, and they are making an effort to do that.
That's happened in past developments by way of annexation agreements. And as Ian said, this land was there before the city existed. So it was never, annexed, so to speak. The final piece I'll say is that, as Scott mentioned, the tentative goal is this will be going to Planning Commission next month. There'll be a staff report that'll be published. Otherwise, as he alluded to in the workshop with the Joint Commission, I would take this conversation offline. So you can reach out one-on-one and discuss further if needed. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott? Comments? Okay.
Mayor, I was
Thank you,
just gonna,
Scott.
Mayor, I was just gonna do a quick follow-up to Councilor Lutz's comment.
Oh,
That
sure.
if there are more than multiple builders that end up developing that property, they would still be subject to the requirements of the master plan. So just wanted to ensure that that's another, I guess, point that even if there's multiple builders, they still have to build according to the approved plan,
All right.
assuming
thanks.
it's approved.
Assuming it's approved. That's correct. All right. Thanks for that. Joe?
Okay, I know it's been a long night, so I won't keep any of you up, but thank you. Good to see you all. As far as our department goes, nothing too exciting or new, kind of just the basic finance and administration stuff we have going on, with one exception, and that's regarding a topic that is one of my favorites, and that is trucks. We did procure a utility truck that actually, if you remember, we budgeted 2 of them in fiscal year 2021. We just got one just because of a little bit of COVID. The used truck market was very difficult. We ended up finding one. One of our employees went down to Texas and drove it back. So he got that back this week. And because we didn't budget for it this year, we would probably include it in a supplemental budget coming up. So that's just kind of a heads up there. We did budget it last year, but you'll see it in this year's sub budget. So that's all I really have, unless you have any questions for me.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Joe? I have a follow-up question to that. How much is a used utility truck cost?
So it was about $20,000, $19,995, I believe, without license fees or anything like that. So
Plus
it's
the
got a
gas
little
to
bit of
get it
miles
back.
on. Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Oh, I said just, and the gas to get it back.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for all you do. Thanks, Joe.
You bet. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. All right. That gets us to, I guess that gets us to our business. Who would like to go first? Councilor Ross. Do you have any business to share with us?
I do actually. Part of the problem is when I use my touchpad, sometimes my screen divides into four and then I can't find the unmute button. The Parks Board met this week, and a couple things. First of all, probably some import to all of us is that I think 3 of the folks, and maybe more, are up for reappointment. 2 have indicated that they definitely are not going to reapply, one being Dixie and the other, I can't remember who, but they think it's time to move on and do something else. And there's a chance we may end up with the 3rd person, and that would be Molly, who has been a good asset, but she's now on the SPRD board. And so she's kind of looking at trying to balance those requirements against this one. So if you know of anybody, any good people that are interested in green space and being on that advisory committee, it's a key time because we're getting ready to look at the parks master plan, and there are a number of things in there that I think we want to have some good citizen input on and some good thinkers at the table as that moves forward. The campground, we talked about the fact that Paul and his crew are going to install the removed Village Green play structure in the campground. They've identified a location. I've looked at it. I think it's a great location for it. Paul will probably have more for us on that later. And given the number of kids I hear in there in the summer, and the number of kids that have piled rocks up around all of the utility pylons in there right now, I think it would be a good activity, a good place to give them something more perhaps constructive to do that Paul's crews don't have to go and remove. And last of all, there was a lot of discussion around the lockers at Village Green, and also some other issues at Village Green with the showers, people, as Paul would say, washing their dogs and other things in there. That is a lot of work for his crew, probably much more so than the ones at the park or the campground, to keep clean and things like that. So as we think about our solutions down the road and have our discussion that we started earlier on today, I think that's one of the things we need to examine is services for folks that don't have a place to live, that may be somewhere other than in the middle of one of our main parks. And you know, the lockers were removed, in case anybody asked you, because they were really being used for private storage or for sleeping in, or for anything but a bicycle seemed to be what the rule was there. So I don't think there's any intent in putting them back if you get asked by anyone. And last but not least, Paul had another discussion about the fact that in Barkley Park, we've got some problems with tree roots, and I think he's looking at some solutions there. I understand that there was a significant fall over one of the roots are raising the pavers, and that creates problems. So they may have to look at a tree removal and some other sorts of mitigation things. And hopefully we'll be able to recondition the turf areas in Barkley fairly soon. The metal art structures, which everybody loves, myself included, are still there, but they are on public park property, and the time has come for them to find a new place to live and to rehab that into a green space in downtown. And there's not a lot of nice green spaces to sit in downtown on a hot summer day. It'd be good to get it back. That's it. Oh, I actually, sorry, that's late. Just so you know, I'm serving on I'm on the Deschutes County Library Board, looking at their bond and how they're going to spend their funds. There will be some money into the Sisters Library facility, not a lot of significant changes. The big thing is the new central library, which I believe is going to be somewhere close to Tumalo in that area where the shopping center is, and maybe where a couple of big box stores will go. And so I'll have more information on that as things go along. But I did ask them, as they think about making modifications, not just here in Sisters, but around the county, that they really do need to understand that some of our houseless population depend upon the internet signal and an occasional outside outlet to charge their cell phone and do the internet they need, the business they need doing the internet. So as we think about solutions in the future, that may be something else we also have to talk about, is how do we provide those services to our houseless population who work and need them. So I'm done. I promise. I'm going to turn it off, the microphone.
All right, thanks, Gary. And maybe that kind of thinking provides us with other partnership opportunities and things like that as we're going forward. Thank you for that. Councilor Letts?
Just going over my calendar there, I attended the COIC board meeting last week. And one of the takeaways out of that, the board chair is leaving, a councilman out of Madras. So that's going to be a little bit of a road bump for the board. Otherwise, the COIC wants to actually do a presentation, hopefully one of our upcoming workshops. I think focusing on kind of the regional housing council that they've put together relatively recently. So we might be having a guest soon from COIC, which would be great. And also, attended Regional Solutions Committee, and that was basically just talking about their kind of list of priorities for the next year or two. Trying to hone that down, and everybody's got a lot of priorities. A lot of them are the same, but there's some different ones in there. And that's and I don't think we're going to meet until early February, because we kind of try to align their meetings when there's people hanging out in Salem making decisions about stuff. So that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Blum?
I don't have anything to report. None of the meetings that I went to brought anything significant that I wanted to share.
Well, I wanted to tell you something. I really missed your 75th Jubilee updates. Those were really good. And just thank you for doing that. It really added to the celebration arena, the feel that we have in town.
Yeah,
it's kind of dissipating now that it's getting cold.
Right. Yeah, it was too bad we couldn't have done more celebrating, but we did what we could.
Well, hopefully next year we can have I want a big old barbecue and just not have to worry about hugging people. That'd be just nice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right.
75 plus one.
Yeah. Hey, we can use the same logo and just put a +1 next to it, right?
Yeah.
Good idea. So we might do that. Council President Conley.
Just real quick, the Monday 3 p.m. special meeting for the destination marketing that Carrie mentioned. As my English friend says, be prepared to be gobsmacked. A lot of fast and furious information will be coming at you. Don't worry about it. We're just at the beginning process. You'll have lots of time to ponder it and come up with fabulous suggestions. So you'll enjoy the meeting. That's it.
And it's on my calendar now. I've already done it. So thank you. Feel like a jerk, but that's just what happened. I only really have one thing, but I have two. The first of all, thank you for your support on the Child Care Accelerator program. I just think it's a good program, and thank you for supporting that. I know I brought that to you, but when I heard about it, I just said, we gotta do something here, and I'm glad that we're doing something. So thank you very much for your support on that. The second thing is I'm going to follow up Gary. and let everybody know, the Parks Board is the biggest need. There's 3 or 4 openings likely. But there's one in the Public Works Advisory Board. There's 2 in the Budget Committee. Forestry, there's 1. And so there's 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 openings for committee volunteers. I don't know about you guys, but I was on the Planning Commission long before I was on City Council. I was also on the Budget Committee a year before I was on City Council. It's really sometimes a gateway to service, to start on those boards, and then people become more involved. What I would like to do is I'd like to encourage all 4 of my fellow counselors, I will be doing this myself, is to keep your eyes out for people in the community that feel like they're a good fit, that they have the passion, they have the want to do it. The personalities hopefully are good. And, I think we should all be encouraging to people to help serve in the manner that we have, because let's face it, it feels good to do so and it's good for our community. So I'm just going to encourage everybody to keep your eyes out, try and mentor a few people. The younger, the better, if only because they're going to be here longer than we all are. So, it's good to get as many young people involved as we can. So let's just be encouraging and see if we can't get some good volunteers for our boards. And it would be nice to have, double the amount of people applying than the need we have, just so we have some good people in there. So thank you very much. And that's all I have. Carrie, did I miss anything?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned. Have a great next couple of weeks. See you on Monday.